What's going on YouTube? So regulations mean that all brands need to start electrifying their lineups, but that doesn't mean they need to start making boring cars. That's why McLaren made this, the Artura Spider, a drop-top plug-in hybrid supercar. And this 690 horsepower beast is sure to put a smile on your face. So let's go ahead and get into the review. Now before we obviously take this out on the road and check out that plug-in hybrid performance, a big part of any supercar, regardless of what powers it, is the design. So I have to say, I really think McLaren has nailed this. This is a beautiful supercar, really from all angles. What you have up here in the front is, of course, a combination of their latest design elements. And it does look very, very expensive and very sporty. Down here on your lower face, this is going to be finished in a gloss black. By the way, while I'm squatted down here, I do want to mention you have a front end lift on board, and they've relocated the button this year so that it's very easy to access right on the left-hand side of the steering wheel for when you're approaching something like a curb you need to get over top of. Now, as far as our lighting is concerned, obviously we have full LED headlights. We've got the crystal design up there. Our turn signal indicator is separated into this housing. And obviously, we've got a lot of vents going on. All of this is fully functional aero. Everything you see does have a function. Now moving on to your wheels, you do have a staggered setup, so you have 19-inch alloys in the front, 20-inch alloys in the back, and then obviously that is going to be combined with high-performance tread. Now also high performance are your brakes. So as you can see, we've got a nice looking brake caliper. You do have available carbon ceramic brakes as well. Now as we rise above, you're going to notice some nice carbon fiber accenting right there, as well as over top of our entire mirror housing. You can get nice safety features on board like blind spot monitoring. These mirrors can also be optioned to power fold. Like Drew said, this McLaren Artura is just absolutely beautiful from any angle, and I really love the way the side looks. Now, there's a couple things I want to point out. First of all, you're noticing this right here. There is not a roof. This is the Artura Spider. That is actually new to the Artura lineup for 2025, and the roof can actually raise and lower in as little as 11 seconds and be operated at speeds of up to 35 miles per hour. Now, as far as the vehicle length, it's about 179 inches long, and as far as some of the design elements, like Drew has been pointing out throughout, we have a lot of aero bits. So you'll notice that the door is shaped to funnel air into the engine back there. Of course, this is a very large vent. And then as we head around to the rear, oh my goodness, this is one good looking product. As far as the design, where do I even really start with what they've done here? So we have a very aggressive upper part of the rear design through here. Of course, your engine is mounted in this part as well. And as we drop down to this area, you'll notice that it actually is composed of a metal mesh, and that's actually to allow you to see in, so you can actually see the engine componentry of this McLaren Artura. And you'll notice right here, front and center, are your exhaust outlets. Right beside the branding, you're going to find the exhaust system. That's actually been improved for 2025 to sound better, so we'll go ahead and take a sample of that. And as far as other things I want to point out, let's take a look at our taillights. Our taillights are going to be super slender. It's basically just an LED blade going through here. LED brake light, turn signal as well. And then you have an LED reverse light down here at the bottom. Now, as far as this bottom area, you do have an absolutely beautiful and very aggressive design going on, as you would expect out of a supercar. Now, as far as safety, I'm happy to tell you that you can actually option on all of your available safety systems, including stuff like adaptive cruise control, if you want to make sure that this is an everyday livable supercar. But speaking of everyday livability, let's go ahead and dive into the inside. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12 and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, let's check out the interior. Here's your key fob. Really nothing special for this key fob. The rest of it's very special, but this is actually a very plasticky key fob with a little bit of metal down there at the bottom. And then to get inside the vehicle, obviously you do have a kind of touchpad underneath of here, and you're just gonna pinch that. And when you do, you can theatrically get inside this McLaren. All right, let's take a look at the interior. Now, obviously, this is a supercar, so you're not going to have like a ton of things going on in here. It's going to be very simple, going to be very driver focused, and that begins with our seats. So this is a performance seat, and as you can see, it's real thin. We do have thick bolsters on each side. This is finished in Alcantara in the center section. We have the McLaren logo up there in the headrest itself, and you can choose a lot of different things with the seats as well as really the whole interior. It's highly customizable, as you'd expect for something at this price point. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now, getting in is a little bit difficult, but that's to be expected for a supercar. Then you just kind of reach up there, grab that, and bring it down in one motion. All right, let's look around at some of the materials. Obviously, we do have a luxurious cabin finish. So you've got Alcantara over here on our armrest portion. You have metal trim. Our Bauer & Wilkins speaker grille is finished in a real metal, and then you've got the full leather covering all across there. This dashboard is going to be finished again in the Alcantara, and then you have more leather material through there as well as along our center console area. Now, to fire it up, of course, you're just going to put your foot on the brake, and then you're going to press this center mounted button. Now, I did tell you that this was a plug-in hybrid, so don't be surprised that you don't hear any exotic noises when you first fire it up. It does default to starting up in electric mode. Now, we won't take too long with the cabin because I know you want to get to the test drive and the performance. We do as well, but let's take a look at some of the specific details. One of the things I really like about this vehicle a lot is our gauge cluster and this overall steering column area. I say this as one unit because it actually does move all together. So this is power adjusting, and as you can see, no matter where you put that steering wheel, you're always going to have your gauges right there in the perfect spot. I really wish more cars would do this because that is a super nice feature. Also kind of attached to this are your basically mode controllers. So what you can do is change your powertrain modes over here, and you can change your suspension modes over here. They're separate from each other and really gives you a lot of customizability. The rest of the steering wheel is really just focused on the feel in the hand because, as you can see, there are no buttons on here at all. Zero. You just have the nice leather covered airbag cover and awesome feeling grip over here on the side. Beautiful full metal paddle shifters. They're actually almost a little sharp on the edge. That's how real they are. I have to mention storage because that is what we do. But as you can see, it's really at max capacity with this envelope and one wire inside of it. But you do have a couple USBs. One of those is a modern USB-C connection. That's nice to see on board. And you have one cup holder. And there actually is a little bit more storage right up there. Now, as far as the shifter is concerned, as you can see, it is a push-button style shifter. You're just going to obviously press the D for drive. Like I mentioned earlier, you do have the paddle shifters on board. R is for reverse. When you go into reverse, we have, surprisingly, a 360-degree camera system. So your main view is right up there with active trajectory. Your 360 view is over here in the gauge cluster. Like I said, I'm pretty surprised to see this, but that's just things that are going to make your everyday life with this vehicle less stressful. There's no traditional park, so you're just going to bring the vehicle into neutral and then turn on the electronic parking brake. Now, as far as your display is concerned, this is an 8-inch display. It is oriented towards the driver. We've got the latest McLaren software on board. You can make adjustments to things like your driving position, as well as your ambient lighting and vehicle settings inside of here. We also have dual zone climate controls, which you just adjust with those 2 little buttons right there. And then off to the side, this is your volume knob for 2 different audio systems, standard 5-speaker or an available 12-speaker Bauer and Wilkins sound system. And then lastly here, we've got an auto dimming mirror with HomeLink universal remotes. Up top, you've got your controls for both the back window, if you just want to let the sound of the engine in to the car without having the roof down. Lastly, you have another option, and that's the fact that you have this button right here. This will take the glass from opaque to fully transparent.
Now, that cabin was pretty everyday livable, but how much can you bring along with you for the journey? Well, of course, this is a mid-engine supercar, so there's not going to be anything in the back. It's just going to be mainly focused on the engine, but there is a frunk. So once we open this up, you actually find a surprising amount of space. McLaren says this is about 6 cubic feet to be exact. So a good amount, actually. I was very impressed. It can fit all of our camera gear in here, no problems. And then you do even have room for like your charging cable down there at the bottom, and it's going to be finished in a really nice felt lining. So not as impractical as you might expect for a McLaren. But the time has finally come. Let's go ahead and take it out in the spin. Well, guys, the time has finally come for us to get behind the wheel of the McLaren Artura Spider. Of course, we are so excited to show you all that this vehicle has to offer. We'll be discussing the things you can see on the screen right now. And first, we want to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
Well, it's fast, that's for sure. I also like the sound of it as well.
Yeah, the noise, I think, is what you notice first and foremost. You know, of course, getting in this vehicle, the engine is right behind you, so you really hear so much of the turbo whistle and just the exhaust note, which McLaren was happy to point out that they improved the exhaust note for this Artura to really give you that supercar level exhaust, and I have to say it sounds really good.
Right, so you might be surprised to, find out, obviously we've been talking about it, that this is a plug-in hybrid, but also it's a V6 plug-in hybrid. So this is a 3-liter twin turbocharged V6. And obviously the performance is not hindered by that fact. Your overall power is 690 horsepower, which is extremely impressive. This is kind of, in a sense, an entry-level McLaren and supercar, but yet you don't, get any feeling like entry-level. That's a terrible way to describe this, because this is fantastic and elite-level performance.
Yeah, now as far as the torque, 531 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 is 3 seconds in this Artura. So, like Drew said, elite-level performance. You can't call this entry-level because it is astonishingly quick. I mean, this is a very light vehicle. I can put the weight down in a text box down below, but of course, that's going to allow this to get up to speed that quickly. We also have a 7.4 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack, so that not only, makes this more efficient per se, it allows for extra performance here in the supercar application. That sounds really good.
I said in the intro, it's sure to put a smile on your face. It's doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, a fun fact you might want to know is the fact that the Spider version really doesn't weigh that much more than the standard version. It's only 136 more pounds, than the standard coupe, which to me makes this really a no-brainer, because I mean, we have this the roof actually, you know, in place right now just for filming purposes, but as an owner, I would absolutely keep the roof down most of the time. And the fact that you still get the glass top even when you put the roof up is just so impressive to me. So obviously I was using the paddle shifters to maximize the fun. And speaking of paddle shifters, obviously we should mention the transmission. We have an 8-speed automatic, which is very nice and responsive in the normal mode, but especially when you're using the paddles, this is where the real fun is. As you can see, they are tremendously responsive. Obviously, they also feel so nice. The real metal, nice clicking sensation, and allows you to really rev it out and get all the good sounds into the cabin. Now, the power is going to be routed to the rear wheels exclusively. There's no all-wheel drive variant of this vehicle, and that's really just going to help your overall driving dynamics, which is what we're heading into next. Now, you probably don't need me to tell you that this does have tremendous performance when you take it around a corner on a back road. We are not going to experience the limits today of this vehicle, because you really should do that on a track surface, and you do have a track mode as well in terms of your drive modes, but even here in sport, what a tremendous car to drive, I tell you. Absolutely buttoned down, glued to the road. You have basically no body roll whatsoever. Steering is amazing. The response on this is insane. As soon as you turn off center, you get that immediate feedback. You can very easily tell where the wheels are placed. It's not really a given necessarily when you have a fast vehicle that it also has steering that's this good and gives you this much feedback.
Plug-in hybrids can definitely make you have a lot of fun and put a big smile on your face. This car is proof of that. That is for sure. All right. So, let's go ahead and get into just a few other odd and end things that you may be curious about with this McLaren Artura. Now, when it comes to this vehicle, the everyday livability aspect of it, I'm sure some of you guys might actually want to be living with your supercar every day, and I have to say, after spending not a ton of time with it, we're not doing like a 15-hour road trip in this vehicle, so do keep in mind that. But I will say the comfort doesn't seem bad at all. These seats are actually quite comfortable. There are plenty of just BMWs and Mercedes that don't have seats that are as comfortable as this. So I have to say I am incredibly impressed with what McLaren has done with this. They're even power adjusting, which is something I was very surprised to find. You have quite a few different modes of adjustment, so they have added a lot of the everyday livability things that you might be looking for in a vehicle to this Artura. So I'd say this is perfectly fine to live with on the daily. I don't know what you think, Drew, but I think this is really good, actually.
Yeah, it really is. It has a lot less compromises than many of the other hardcore performance vehicles that we've been in. The other thing that's terrific is just the suspension. So in addition to being able to, hustle you around corners and give you that top-notch control, it's actually surprisingly comfortable as well. So obviously it is adaptive, and you can go into your settings and change it to whatever you want. Here in the comfort setting, you know, when you go over bumps and stuff, it doesn't break your back. You know, that combination of the softer suspension as well as the seats that are a little bit softer, like Mason was saying, really does give you a surprising level of comfort in here.
McLaren said they improved the adaptive suspension this year. Now, we have not driven the previous Artura to know how much it is improved, but I'd say this new one, pretty good. Now, at highway speeds, I will point out, is going to have quite a bit of noise entering into the cabin. I didn't even really bother getting the sound level reader out. I don't think anyone who buys a supercar is looking for a sound level reading, and we are on a very limited time frame with this vehicle, so we don't have time to do it. Hopefully, if we can get one back home, we'll do a sound level test. And then as far as other practical elements about this car, your fuel economy is 19 miles per gallon just when you fully deplete the battery, which I think is pretty darn impressive.
Really?
Yeah, it is 19 miles per gallon, and you have up to 19 miles of electric range from that 7.4 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack. So you can actually travel quite a good distance in this vehicle in full electric. So if you don't want to be obnoxious or whatever and wake the entire neighborhood up when you leave for work, you can totally do that. As far as a couple last things to mention, let's go ahead and do our airball and slam dunk, which is our least favorite element about the McLaren Artura. What might be our favorite element, Drew?
I think that's going to be the performance. All this really works together surprisingly well. This is our first time in a McLaren, and I think some people kind of sleep on this model because it's a V6 and a plug-in hybrid, but in reality, it really does have elite level performance that is very, very impressive and really fun to live with.
On the airball side of things, honestly, in our time with it, we really couldn't name one. The thing I was really going to criticize the most was probably the exhaust note. But after hearing it here in person, I really don't think that's much of a criticism. Yes, maybe a Lamborghini Huracan sounds better with its V10, but it still sounds really good.
And since we've been talking about what this vehicle is kind of like to live with, like it is a type of supercar you could kind of daily. One of the things that we mentioned at the beginning was that you have that front lift. The button is very conveniently located right over here next to me, so I can just real quick hit that, and I'm able to then feel nice and confident that I can get into this steep incline parking garage.
And you might also be curious about the warranty. Basic and powertrain warranty is going to be 5 years and unlimited mileage, so that's interesting warranty. You do also get 3 years of complimentary maintenance provided by McLaren. And how much is all of this going to cost? Well, it's a McLaren after all, so it's does have a supercar price, even though this is one of their most affordable products. $250,000 is your starting point for the Artura. Now, if you want the Artura Spider, which is what we have today, that's going to ring in at $273,800 as a starting point. Now, if you want one that's well optioned like this one, we'll go ahead and insert our estimated price on the screen right now. We don't have an official price because we don't have the window sticker for this just yet, but I would expect to be well into the $300,000 price point. Now, if you're looking to buy a McLaren or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. It's a pretty cool door to shut up, and it doesn't even have soft close abilities. But guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of this new 2025 McLaren Artura Spider. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, if you're lucky enough to be able to buy one of these, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, not only are you going to get more cool car reviews like this, you're also going to get more mainstream car reviews on everyday vehicles that you might be looking to purchase. Additionally, if you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, because you do make this all possible, where we can come out to Portland, Oregon and review this new McLaren. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.